Hey, everybody, and welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be tackling leadership.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, it's a big one, right?
Huge topic.
But we're zeroing in on something specific. The law of navigation
Okay.
from John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
I like it.
Yeah, and we're going to be looking at a YouTube excerpt where he kind of breaks it all down.
Awesome.
So I think, the general idea is that anyone can steer a ship, right?
Right.
But knowing where to steer,
Yeah.
that's the mark of a true leader.
Absolutely.
Like, imagine planning a road trip.
Okay.
You wouldn't just hop in the car and start driving, would you?
No.
You want to plan a map.
Exactly. You got to know where you're going.
Right. You need a sense of, like, what to expect along the way.
A roadmap, a plan, an itinerary.
Yeah, and in leadership, that roadmap is the vision.
Makes sense.
The direction you set.
I like it.
And speaking of vision, Maxwell starts off with this hilarious story
Oh, yeah.
about a hot air balloonist
Okay.
who is totally lost.
Whoa, no.
He's like floating around, has no idea where he is, and he spots a woman down on the ground.
Classic.
I know, right?
It's funny because we've all been there.
Totally.
That feeling of being lost, like, well, what am I doing?
Yeah, like in life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what's so interesting about this story in terms of leadership is that it highlights the difference between, like, just giving information and actually giving direction.
Right.
It's not enough to just have data. You need to know what to do with it.
Okay, I'm with you.
So the woman in the story, she gives the balloonist his exact location.
Oh, really?
Latitude, longitude, the whole shebang.
Wow, so specific.
Right. But it's completely useless to him
Yeah.
because he still doesn't know which way to go.
He's like, thanks, but...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a classic case of data versus direction.
Interesting.
Like having a complex recipe but no instructions.
Ooh, I hate when that happens.
Right. You have all the ingredients, but you don't know how to put it all together.
You're just missing that guidance.
Yeah. And that's where true leadership comes in.
Okay, so we need to provide direction, not just data.
Exactly.
But what does that actually look like?
Good question.
Well, Maxwell, he breaks leadership vision down into 3 levels.
Okay, I'm listening.
Leaders see more than others. They see farther than others. And get this, they see before others,
That's a good one.
right?
It's not about like having some magical crystal ball or anything.
No.
It's about having the foresight to see challenges and opportunities before they're like super obvious.
I see.
Think of someone like Steve Jobs.
Okay.
He didn't just create products that met like existing needs.
Right.
He envisioned totally new ways of interacting with technology.
Interesting.
Like he saw the potential of personal computers, smartphones, digital music before most people even knew they needed them.
Wow. He wasn't just keeping up with the times, he was shaping them.
Exactly.
That's pretty incredible.
It is when you think about it.
Yeah. But it also makes me wonder,
What's that?
is there a danger in seeing too far ahead? Like, could that lead to unrealistic expectations?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Or a disconnect from what's actually possible right now?
That's a great point, and it actually leads perfectly into Maxwell's next idea,
Okay. What's that?
the importance of being realistic.
Okay.
He says that really effective leaders, they're objective enough to avoid getting caught up in illusions.
Right.
They know that self-deception can be a real problem.
Interesting.
And to really emphasize this point, Maxwell, he quotes Max Dupree.
Okay.
He was a really well-respected business leader.
Uh-huh.
And Dupree says that the #1 responsibility of a leader is to define reality.
Wow. That's a powerful statement.
It is, right?
So true, though. It's so easy to get caught up in our own dreams and hopes.
For sure.
But if we're not grounded in reality, we could end up leading ourselves and others astray.
Totally. It's like that hot air balloonist again.
Right.
He had a destination, but without a realistic view of his situation and what he could actually do, he was just lost.
So how do we strike that balance then?
That's the million-dollar question.
Between thinking big and staying grounded.
Right.
What can we do to avoid that self-deception and make sure our vision is achievable?
Well, one thing is to always be seeking feedback
Okay.
from others, especially people who might have a different perspective than you.
So surround yourself with people who will challenge you a little bit.
Exactly. People who will help you see your blind spots.
I like that.
And it's also super important to be honest with yourself.
About
Your strengths and your
the
weaknesses.
limitations.
Yeah, and that's where Maxwell's comparison of a travel agent versus a tour guide comes in.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
He says that leaders need to be more like tour guides
Interesting.
who've actually walked the path.
So they have that experience.
Exactly. They know all the ins and outs, and they can anticipate those challenges and celebrate the wins along with their team.
I really like that analogy because it shows how important experience is.
Right.
Like a travel agent can book your tickets,
Yeah.
give you a brochure, but they haven't necessarily been there themselves.
They don't know the reality.
Exactly. They can't give you that same level of guidance as someone who's actually been there.
It makes a huge difference.
Think about it.
Yeah.
When you get a recommendation from someone who's experienced something firsthand
Yeah.
versus someone who just read about it,
Totally different.
you trust that advice so much more.
Absolutely. It's like the difference between reading a travel blog and talking to someone who's actually explored that country.
Yeah, they can give you those insider tips.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a tour guide leader so effective.
They've been there, done that, and they can share that knowledge in a way that really connects with people.
And that makes all the difference.
Okay, so we've got the vision, we're being realistic, and we're ready to be those experienced tour guides for our teams.
I like it.
But how do we actually navigate the path forward?
Well, this is where Maxwell gets really practical.
Okay, tell me more.
He gives us this fantastic framework,
Okay.
an acronym actually,
I love a good acronym.
to break down the process of leadership navigation.
I'm listening.
Plan ahead.
Plan ahead.
Okay.
I like it.
Each letter stands for a key step.
All right, so let's break it down. P, what does that stand for?
P is for predetermine your course of action.
Sounds simple enough.
It does.
Yeah.
But how often do we just react to everything that's happening?
Instead of really planning where we want to go.
Right. It's like that saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Yeah, but as leaders, we need a destination.
With you.
A clear sense of what we're trying to achieve.
It's not just about setting a vague goal either.
What else?
It's about thinking through the steps,
Okay.
anticipating obstacles.
You're prepared.
Exactly. And having a plan to address them.
So it's not just about the what, but the how.
That's it. You need to map out the route, not just the destination.
I like that. And that brings us to L, I'm guessing.
You got it. L stands for lay out your goal.
Okay.
And Maxwell emphasizes those goals.
The
She
steps.
should be steps toward that larger vision.
So break down those big goals into smaller, more manageable ones.
Right? Like a lot of those productivity frameworks talk about.
Like SMART goals.
Exactly.
Specific, measurable, achievable, all that.
It makes the journey less intimidating and it helps you track progress.
Celebrate those small wins along the way.
Absolutely. And course correct when you need to.
Speaking of course correcting,
What's that?
the A,
Okay.
adjust your priorities.
That's a big one.
We all have limited time and resources.
Right. Are you focused on the tasks that actually matter?
Or are we just getting bogged down in busy work?
Exactly. It's like packing for that road trip.
Okay.
You can't take everything with you.
Gotta prioritize.
You need the essentials.
And leave behind the things that just weigh you down.
Exactly.
Love that analogy. Okay, so once our priorities are in check,
What's next?
it's the N.
You got it.
Notify key personnel.
To bring the team on board.
This is where the communication piece comes in, right?
Big time.
We're not just telling people what to do, but getting them excited about the journey.
It's about inspiration.
It's like that tour guide pointing out those interesting landmarks and telling stories.
Exactly. Bringing the destination to life.
And then we have our second A.
Allow time for acceptance.
Okay,
You've presented the plan. You've shared the vision.
right.
But don't expect everyone to be 100% on board right away.
Change can be hard.
It is, people need time to process, to ask questions, to maybe even push back a little.
And as leaders, we need to be patient
Absolutely empathetic.
and create space for those conversations.
Exactly, when people feel heard and understood
They're more likely to really buy in.
and contribute their best effort. Which brings us to H.
Head into action. Time to actually start moving.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
We've planned. We've communicated.
We've addressed concerns.
Time to go.
But remember, action without a plan.
It's just chaos.
That's why the H comes after all those other steps.
So don't rush into action.
Oh.
Lay the groundwork first, then take action.
And even with the best plans, problems are going to come up.
That's life.
Right? That's why E stands for expect problems.
Yeah, so true.
It's not pessimism, it's just being realistic.
It's about navigating, and sometimes the terrain is rough.
And a good leader doesn't get discouraged.
They anticipate those obstacles.
And have strategies for overcoming them.
Like Nelson Mandela.
Great example.
He faced so much adversity in his life.
He did, but he never lost sight of his vision.
For a free and equal South Africa.
He knew it would be hard, but he kept going.
He adapted his approach as needed and ultimately achieved his goal.
Incredible example of expecting problems, but not letting them win.
Powerful stuff. Okay, so then we have P.
What do you think it stands for?
Let's see. Point to your successes.
Yes.
Celebrate those wins, big and small.
This goes back to that tour guide analogy,
Right.
highlighting those moments of progress, those milestones to keep everyone motivated,
It's not just about the destination, but enjoying the journey.
and recognizing everyone's contributions.
Celebrating those successes can really boost morale.
Especially when things get tough. And finally, we have D.
Daily review your progress.
This is a big one.
It's not just checking things off a list.
No, it's about taking time to reflect.
Think about what's working.
What needs to change?
Are we still on track toward that vision?
It's about being that mindful leader, that attentive tour guide,
Always checking the map, getting feedback from the passengers.
and making adjustments to ensure everyone has a great experience.
Wow, we really unpacked this plan ahead framework.
It's pretty comprehensive.
And it seems super robust.
It is.
But I think what strikes me is that it's not a one-time thing.
Right, it's not like you just do it once and you're done.
It's an ongoing process.
It is.
Planning, action, evaluation, adjustment.
Like a cycle. Kind of like a ship's navigator.
Okay.
They're constantly monitoring their course, right?
Right. Adjusting for the wind, the currents, any obstacles.
Exactly.
So it's like we're all captains in a way,
In a sense, yeah.
navigating our own ships,
Our teams.
our projects, even our personal goals.
It all applies.
And that daily review Maxwell talks about,
Yeah.
that becomes our compass.
Helps us stay on course.
Make those adjustments as needed.
You don't need hours for this either.
Yeah.
Even a few minutes at the end of each day can make a difference.
What kind of questions should we ask ourselves during that check-in?
Well, you could start with something like,
Okay.
what went well today?
Mm.
What could I have done differently?
I like that.
What did I learn that I can use tomorrow?
So simple, but so powerful.
Right.
Just taking a few minutes to reflect,
Process the day.
extract those insights.
And you'd be surprised how those small reflections can really add up over time.
Yeah, it's like those small course corrections.
Exactly.
They can lead to big changes in our leadership.
It all comes back to that awareness.
Right, like in that story with the hot air balloonist.
Yeah.
He was lost, but it was also about the woman on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
She assumed he needed a certain type of information.
She gave him data when he needed direction.
And it shows how important it is to understand the needs of the people we're leading.
Because just like that balloonist needed more than coordinates,
Mm-hmm.
our teams might need different kinds of support.
Depending on the situation.
Right.
So it's more than just clear communication.
It's about being perceptive,
Recognizing those individual needs.
tailoring our approach.
Being that attentive tour guide.
Who knows that some people love history?
And others are more interested in nature.
Exactly. You got to cater to everyone.
And that brings us back to Maxwell's point about bringing others along.
It's not a solo journey.
We can just chart the course and expect everyone to follow blindly.
You need to inspire,
Motivate.
create that shared purpose.
Like Jim Whittaker.
The first American to summit Mount Everest.
He was most proud of taking others to the top with him.
That's what true leadership is about.
Empowering others to achieve greatness.
It's not about personal success. It's about collective accomplishment.
Building a culture where everyone feels valued and supported.
And inspired to contribute their best.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the law of navigation, I want you to think about a time you successfully navigated a challenge. Who did you rely on for support? How did you bring others along on that journey? And what did you learn that you can apply to your leadership going forward? Because the law of navigation is not just about reaching the destination, it's about creating a shared experience that empowers and inspires everyone involved.
Keep navigating.